All right, we are live. Welcome everyone to another edition of Deconversion Stories. Today I'm speaking with my friend Oz, Austin is your name, but people already know that, so it's not like I'm doxing you or anything. No and he's one of the hosts of the Atheist Roundtable, which is a great channel. I got the privilege of being a guest on there just recently. There's a link to it below. You can check out the channel. If you dig what they do, you can give them a sub. You can also help support them on Patreon if you like. I also have that link below. And I also have his Twitter and also their personal website. Well, the Atheist Roundtable website. It's also linked below. So go and check it out and, support if you like. Anyways, Oz, what I do here is I talk to people about their journeys away from their belief systems. Whether they were religious at one time or believed in shit like crystal healing and all that bullshit, that kind of stuff. So why don't you kind of take us back to the time where you had that belief and the journey that you went on from that point as the dominoes started falling to becoming the atheist activist that you are today.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, thank you for the invitation and having me on tonight. It's awesome. I've been looking forward to this since we scheduled this. So, as far as the story, I know we're limited to hours, so I may keep it short. But I
an hour short. Wow.
It was a process. So, literally, I was born into Christianity when I was very, very young. My mom was already basically in the ministry, the music minister, and doing that. So I grew up. That's the only world I really knew. Indoctrination was that was it. It was this is what we do. This is what we believe, and if you question it, God's got this really cool place called hell for you. So that was how I was introduced to religion and Christianity, was just merely being born into it. Went to Sunday school.
That seems to be the case. That seems to be the case for most people. You're born into your beliefs, right? Right. Who knows? If you're born in India, you could be a Hindu right now.
Exactly. We were just having this conversation, a couple of us last night. I was just lucky enough to be born in the Midwest, where Christianity and even the evangelical movement was hot and heavy, and good
hot
for me.
And heavy. Ooh,
getting kinky.
They don't like that sex stuff.
I was about to say, better be careful. God is very particular about what we do in the bedroom. So
that's right. He's picky about where you put your penis.
Yes, that very much so. Absolutely. But yeah, that's how I was introduced. And then as a young man, I've always been the one to kind of push the boundaries, so to speak, and kind of be the rebel, and not just as far as like breaking the law or things like that, but just always the one asking the questions and being inquisitive, and that was kind of frowned upon. So I started to lose interest, because it was like, well, if I have these questions, I'm a kid and you can't answer them. I don't know, really how interested I am in this whole thing, So years went by. I was forced to go to church 3 times a week, 4 times a week. I remember one time we had like an 8-week revival where we were there every fucking day for 8 weeks. So literally that's all I knew. And the older I grew, the more, I guess jaded by it, I became. And then by the time I hit those tween years, I guess is what they call it now, I started asking my mom, like, Mom, how do you actually, believe in this nonsense? And I remember one time
you actually put it that way.
Well, I was getting ready to say the actual phrase that I used. I said, Mom, how do you believe in this hocus pocus?
Okay.
And I remember that was like, I think her whole world fell apart, when her oldest son was like, hold on a second.
What did you just call it?
So for a very long time, I already had that question and that doubt. And then the further, I went along, and there's some like true tragedies within that story, as far as my brother and I's involvement in the church and some of the abuses and quote unquote scandals and things that we saw or witnessed or even experienced ourselves. I won't dig in all that, because that's why I said that could take up an hour, just talking about that part of it. But
I can imagine that some of the stuff was fairly serious. And
very.
were you guys ever like caught up in it? Like, did it affect
I,
you directly?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, and my little brother, he's the only sibling I have. Without him being here, I won't share exactly what happened, but we'll just say some very traumatic things happened within the church.
Wow.
So the older I got, and the more I was able to look back and recollect on things that we'd seen and heard. Then I was like, man, there's no way all this could be. There's no God that's orchestrating this. If he's truly all loving and all knowing and all that, there's no way, like what happened with my brother, there's no way he would let that happen in his building. Like that's crazy. So then my parents split.
You'd think, anyways.
Yeah. My parents split when I was about 14 or 15, and it was about that time where I didn't necessarily say, fuck church or whatever, and did all that. I just started doing my own thing. It just I didn't even really think about God or church or anything like that. And I went my own little way and got involved in drugs and alcohol and spent about 10 years battling with addictions and doing that. And then in 2003 I went on about that was about a week or two that I was high out of my mind, through my addiction, and I was drinking every day just so I could get a little bit of sleep. And I was driving and I passed out on the highway. Oh shit. And got T-boned by a dump truck going about 80 miles an hour. So I ended up in ICU. Shit. Yeah, it was nuts. And I woke up in ICU. My shoulder was shattered. My shoulder blade was shattered. My ribs were all my ribs on the left side were broken. My lung was collapsed. I mean, they thought I had brain damage. Now, many argue that I did, and I still do. I'm kidding. But it was one of those traumatic events in life, right? Well, of course, my entire family are all religious. They all come rushing to the ICU in the hospital, and they're praying and oh, God spared your life, and going through their format, that they're supposed to go through their script,
the playbook,
and and being in an emotional state and having, because I coded 2 or 3 times, like they had to resuscitate me. I was done. I was gone. And they're filling me with all this, and I'm like, well, maybe they're right. Maybe God did save my life. So then I went back on that journey, and I spent about the next 9 years, 10 years, right around there. And I said, okay, if I'm going to do this, and this God is real, and this Bible is real, I'm doing it. It's not going to be one of these things I tiptoe around and just I'm jumping in with both feet, and I'm going to be immersed in it. Yeah. And we're not going to do this halfway, and I did it. And what happened was, I built what I thought were a lot of really, really good relationships and a lot of really, really good friendships. But then about 10 years in, and I don't remember the exact day, but I was the drummer one of the drummers for the church. And one of the Sundays that I wasn't playing, that I was out, in the congregation, I started listening to the words of some of these songs. And I'm like, hold on, I've never known God to do that. I've been doing this for all my life now, because even when I was out ripping and running the streets, it's not like hey, I'm an atheist, or hey, I don't believe in God anymore. It's just I didn't care at that point. I just wanted to party, Right. But now I'm listening to the music, and it's like I've never seen or heard God do any of this. And then it was in that service, I'm standing there in the middle of a worship service at a church, at the church. And it was like, you know what? I should probably really read this book on my own. Because the only way I've read this book is through their context, what the pastor wants to say, what the guest pastor wants to say, what the speaker was like. I've always just read it in the context that they give it to me, and however they want to mix and match to fit their narratives or whatever the message of the day is. That they're great at orchestrating the Bible to match said goal. Sure. Yeah, they're great. That's why they're great motivational speakers. But so at that point, I started spending a lot of time by myself reading that book And here's what helped me. It was about that time I got on the interwebs and on the YouTubes, and I found the Atheistic Spirits. And I know we all hear that a lot, and we hear different versions of the story and what happened and what didn't happen. The very first episode that I saw, and if Poss is in here, he's going to chuckle out loud to himself. He jokes with me about this all the time. But the first episode I saw was when Matt Delhoney was telling one of the callers, he said, you have to read the book without the God goggles. You got to take the God goggles off. If you're really going to understand what the book says and apply logic and reason to it, you can't read it through that lens that you've been equipped with, And I was like, man, that's so true. I've never just sat down and read it. The best way I break it down for people now is you have to sit down and read the book just like you would read a book if we went to our nearest public library and rented a book, right? No supernatural claims, no proof of supernaturals. It's just a fictional book, right? Until you prove otherwise. Mm-hmm. And when I started doing that, I was like, oh my God. Like I've actually believed this in my entire life. Like I've actually, and I would go around and because I would speak and, I had people tell me, I was called to the full-time ministry. And, I would actually go out, and when we did urban outreaches and ministries, I was always the one that they asked to speak, and share my story and do all that. And I'm like, holy crap, I've been telling all these people, like, this is the infallible word of God. There's not a flaw. There's not a blemish. Fuck yes, there is. Yeah. Hell yeah. And all you got to do is take those goggles off, and all of a sudden you realize there's a lot of damn inconsistencies. There's a lot of damn, mistakes, so to speak, in that book. So, when all of
Seth Anders' first book, Deconverted, he points out over 140 of them in that book alone. And there's more apparently. So, yeah. And anyway,
shout out.
Carry on, sorry.
You're good. And shout out Seth, because he and Matt were the ones that were like the catapults of my deconversion, as far as really giving me the confidence to take those steps, So all of a sudden, it was like my whole world was crumbling as far as my belief system, my thought life. And I'm like, holy crap, everything. And this is why I know when, and I mean this respectfully, when Christians get so in their emotions and in their feels, when you start questioning it, because it's not just a belief, it is their identity. It's when they look in the mirror every day. They don't just look and say, oh, well, this is just Austin. This is Austin, the follower of Christ. The Bible believe, like it's ingrained in them as part of their identity and how they identify to the world, So when all that started to crumble, I'm like, well, who the hell am I? Because this is who I thought I was. This is who everybody told me I was, but that's not true. For that part of it, it really came down to it. And this is how basic it was for me. And this is where usually, like I said, Pasta and them they'll chuckle at me. But when I started doing, I couldn't even get through Genesis, Neil. I couldn't even get through Genesis. And I'm like, hold on.
Can't blame you, man. That whole fucking chapter, the whole story of Genesis is like, wait, snakes talk? What?
Yeah.
like that alone. Or they got how many fucking animals on that piece of shit wooden boat? What? Didn't the termites eat all the wood? Like, what the fuck? Yeah.
And I still this day, I have, you can see it has my palm print. And I know I've shown this because people are like, well, you need to read your Bible. No, I've read this Bible a lot. It's got where the leather has been eaten away from the oils in my hand. So believe me, I read the book. And this is the one I used when I started studying for Austin, and not for a church or a ministry. And it literally came down to this basic and this simple. Hold on. I've owned snakes. I've owned pythons. I love reptiles. Snakes don't fucking talk, bro. Like, snakes don't talk.
Dude, this is the version of the Bible I created where you take out all the bad stuff and you're left with a few pages there. So.
That's fantastic.
Holy Bible, right there.
It's
all the bad stuff removed. Yeah. So it's not that much there.
Yep. There's
I'm just kidding. That was in my mailbox. The Gideon church down the road once fucking recruit me or some shit. I'm like, sorry about that.
Yeah, one thing they should be doing door-to-door sales. They'd be killing them. They'd be making a killing. But that's for how I got to this place. That's kind of it's that's the simple or very quick version of getting through it. And then how did I get to where I'm at today and the stance I have today?
Well, hold on before we get into that.
Okay, I thought yes.
Now that you've declared yourself, or realized, I think is more accurate. We have that realization. Wait a minute, I don't believe this shit. I guess I'm an atheist. Like, did you call yourself one off the hop? And did it have an effect on your family? And how did that pan out?
Great question. So no, it wasn't an instant thing, because I'd never really challenged myself to take a look at the other side of this, and even really understand I knew what an atheist was, or what agnostic was, but I didn't all I was ever told was atheists are just arrogant assholes that think they know everything, so that's all I ever heard, but I'd never done my own due diligence, right? So as I was starting to study, and not just in the Bible, but now study, worldviews and lack of belief and skepticism and all that. At first I was like, well, maybe there is a higher power, and it's just not this Bible God, because this Bible's, so ridiculous. Maybe there is a higher power. Maybe I'm agnostic, that like there's a God. I just don't know who he is, what he is, or who she is. I don't know why we always have to say it's a he, but I don't
who it is. Yeah.
I don't know.
It's hard.
Yeah,
it's hard when we don't have answers, right? We know how the universe started, but we don't know what was before it. We don't know all the things that came into play on how it sprang into being. But according to the laws of physics, universes can pop into existence. It's part of their their nature. What's the word I'm looking for? It's an emergent property of existence. They can come into existence, and we know that because we have fucking the microwave background, all that cosmic radiated background, all that shit. And you can turn on your TV where there's snow. That's what you're watching, is remnants of that Big Bang. So, and it's kind of a dumb name because it didn't bang. It was probably, well, who knows? We weren't there. It wasn't a bang. But anyway, so yeah, it's hard. So we as humans have this innate want to fill the holes with some kind of an answer until, as scientists, a better one comes along. But of course, they didn't have that sort of thought pattern back in the day, right? So they just wanted to know. They wanted to fill the holes with something. And it was, back then, it was whatever made you feel better, I suppose.
Yeah. Yep. So, yeah. So kind of went through that stretch for a little bit. And then the more I just kept digging into the ridiculous claims of religion as a whole, but especially, trying to separate myself from, how I grew up. The more I did that, I'm like, no, hold on. Even the God claims in these religions are preposterous. Even the God claims have zero proof, zero evidence. And the more I was studying, the more, I kept to myself, it's like, no, I want to know true things. I don't want to know about faith. I don't want to know about maybes. I want to know what's true. And I'm not finding anything that points to truth. I'm getting a lot of arrows and fingers pointing towards just trust me and just believe me. I don't do that in life. I don't do that in life. Hope is not a good strategy, and I'm never going to depend on hope for anything.
Hope. It's okay to have hope, but it's faith that's not reliable.
Well, and that's what I say. Hope is, was Philippians 11, where it talks about faith is substance of things hoped for, and I'm more referring
sure,
to that.
But that's more of a faith thing than a hope thing, right? So.
Yeah.
Faith has never been proven to be a reliable pathway to anything truthful.
Correct. Yeah. And I did not explain that well, but that's what I was referring to there. And then one day, again, I remember I was sitting on my couch, and I was again watching YouTube, watching some atheist material, and just really digging and studying on my own one of my days off. And I was like, holy shit, I'm an atheist. Like I don't believe.
Little epiphany.
I find no good evidence to support a God claim. I don't see it, and I've studied it for myself. It's not like I'm taking somebody else's word for it, and I don't see it. I'm an atheist. So that's how it got there.
Bing. Yep. It just happens, right? Yep. Yeah, I think I just called myself just a non-believer in anything really for the longest time, because I got into the whole Wicca thing and the paranormal, and I wanted to be a ghost hunter and shit like that. And actually, when I was talking with Aaron Raw on the show, he said, "Oh yeah, I was going to do that too," and we both kind of laughed about that. We were going to be ghost hunters, so it was kind of funny. But yeah, and once all that sort of subsided, and I gave my crystals to the idiot that still believed in that shit. So, I mean, I kept some because some of them are really cool. I have a little amethyst pyramid that looks really cool and shit like that. And they're pretty. That's what they're for. They're pretty. Yep. But they don't do anything, people. Okay, no. Just keep that in mind. So I think the atheist label came around my late 30s, early 40s, I would say, is when I actually... probably the first time, or at least into my 40s anyways, was the first time I literally called myself an atheist. I used the expression from time to time in the past, but I said I would say, oh yeah, I kind of atheistic, but I still believe in ghosts and blah 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 back then, right? So yeah, once all of that, it's like once the supernatural subsided in my mind, that was it. I was a full on, and not that atheism has anything to do with supernatural, but you're a skeptic more of that kind of thing because of the claims of supernatural. You're really, well, can you demonstrate that? And,
yeah.
No one's been able to do that so far. Otherwise, James Randi would be $1 million less in his bank account.
Drink break.
Yeah. But I mean, what was it like when you first had that realization? Other than the realization itself, what was the emotion that went through you? Was it more like a weight being lifted off the shoulders, or like you felt free somehow? Or
it was. I was just talking about this the other day. It was kind of a whirlwind of feelings and emotions. There was the because I lived, other than when I was out ripping and running, when I was, plugged into church and I was doing what I was supposed to be doing. There's always this fear, especially, essentially being in ministry. There's always this fear of disappointing people and letting people down and all that, and living up to a certain standard, being in the glass fishbowl and all that. So that part of it, it was like a weight just dropped, where it was like, oh man,
yeah, no more pressure there.
Fuck that. So that felt wonderful. And then just the pressure to always be something and put on a show and make it, please everybody and do all that. And you can't be politically incorrect. You got to say all the right things all the time. And for those that know me knows that that's really fucking hard for me. So all that fell off. But then the flip side of it, I got shitty because I was like, hold on, I'm 35 years old, whatever it was at that point. I'm 35 years old. Y'all been lying to me my entire life, bro. Like my entire life. You like how many years and days did I waste? As far as doing the activities and all that. How much did I lose? How much did I not get to enjoy being the real authentic Austin instead of this put on Christian Austin? And so there was that. Then kind of in the mix of that. Not right just then, but and I think I shared this with you last time we talked. But the most heartbreaking part for me was through all that. The good and the bad is I went from having being one of the leaders in the church and walking away. I thought I had all these relationships, all these friendships, and Neil, as of today, other than my brother, and him and I still have a kick-ass relationship, but other than my brother, I have zero friendships of years serving in that church. No relationships, no contacts. And yes, for all those that want to ask, I have reached out. I have tried to contact. I have tried to have lunch meetings, dinner meetings, just to catch up with them, and they will not do it. There's always a reason why they can't. So that was probably the most gut wrenching part, was that my friendships were 100%, I guess, rooted in the religion and the faith, and not us as humans.
That's another one of the harsh qualities of religious indoctrination, is somebody that you were friends with almost your whole life and went to church and did all this stuff with them. And you were buddies, and you went to summer camp, and you hung out at each other's houses playing video games, whatever. And then all of a sudden you like decide that, well, I can't really believe this anymore. Then it's like you never existed to them. Mm-hmm. I've heard these kinds of accounts from many people. And that's one of the things that just horrifies me about these belief systems, is that they can be that drilled into someone that they would actually behave in that fashion to people that they allegedly care about. And it just blows my mind. But if you don't love God, then it's like you're the fucking hell spawn or something.
Yeah, it's I probably will never understand that line of thinking with religious people, and why that happens. I mean, I get it, but I don't know why they would actually want to do that to a human that they supposedly care about. And just to take it a little deeper, because I know there's a lot of people who go through this, man. They don't get to talk about it, because they don't have the people to talk to, and or maybe it's just too difficult.
That's why I'm here, so I always encourage.
Yeah, and that's why I love your show.
What denomination were you? Oh, thanks, dude. What denomination were you? Ricardo Oliveira wants to know.
Yeah, it was evangelical, non-denomination, oil slinging, give your money, speaking in tongues, running around the church. It was
Pentecostal shit in there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I went to the circus, if you want me to be honest. But what does it say? And for anybody that has and gets to be on Neil's show that has went through this, you have no idea what your story could do for the next person listening. So please, if you have that story you want to, get on here and talk with Neil. And I'll be very blunt through all that. That same season of my life, I was also going through a really, really shitty divorce, and it was nasty. And so not only did I lose my family, because she took the home, my kids, she took everything. Now luckily I met my fiance, and I'll tell you right now, and she's an atheist. Had I not met that woman when I did, to have some sort of a support system during that, somebody for me to lean on, because I was a mess, man. I was a train wreck, and I lost my friends, my family, like literally everything that I'd worked for as a man, both professionally and just in my quote unquote social life, I lost in a matter of weeks. And I had several suicide attempts, and all that. So like, people don't get it. Like when that stuff happens, it's not just, I'm walking away from church and it's fuck all that, I'm an atheist. There's so many things that intertwine and interweave into that, dealing with people's mental health and their emotions. So I always want to,
because it's so deep rooted.
Yeah. And I'm not, I always want to make sure that, that when I talk about my story, that really that has to be a focus, because that's the dark part, man. That's the ugly part. It's cool that I'm happier now than I've ever been in my life, and I'm free, and I'm excited to be doing what I'm doing. But there was a time going through that process that I wanted to die. I didn't want to be here anymore. So, but there are ways to get help and do all that. And we can talk about that another time, but I want to make sure I put that in there.
No, absolutely. For sure. Because it's important. Because I've spoken to others that have gone through similar feelings and wanting to just, I can't handle this anymore. What's the point? Because they lose their faith in God. And now what's the point? So they kind of go through that phase. So they want to just bring it all to an end. And Mrs. Mills,
that's my fiance,
says she's grateful to have been your soft place.
She's so sweet.
Yeah. She seems it. You're a lucky man. So yeah, I mean, it's understandable. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it was the way I was raised, because mine was a sort of a a deconstruction process the whole time, even from when I was a kid, because I always had questions about, fucking giants aren't real. Who's this Goliath guy? What are you talking about? Like, I always questioned it, even as a kid, and spent a lot of time in the hallway for my questioning.
Mm-hmm.
But, at Hebrew school, because I was raised Jewish, right? So, but it's just over the time, and mine was kind of a lengthy process that entire time. So it wasn't like an insta change for me. It was just suddenly I came up one day and I went, fuck this, I'm going to try this. And I got into the whole paranormal shit and all that. And then eventually going through a few years of that, it was like, fuck, I'm an atheist. Screw this. All this shit's garbage. And I've denied it. I've tried to get evidence and proof, and I just never was able to. So it's like, fuck it. This can't be real then. So we're done with it.
Yep.
So I guess I never ended up in that deep well of depression because of losing that part of yourself so quickly, or all at once even. So I guess I was more fortunate in that way, dude. So, but I've had friends that have been through similar things like you that are now, and they went through, not exactly, but similar things, but came out on top because they had decent people around. So it's good that you've got someone now that is there for you.
Yep, absolutely.
And
absolutely.
You've always got us, man. Anytime anyone ever wants to talk or they're having a rough time, I always say my DMs are always open. I'll even give you my fucking cell number.
Absolutely.
Right. So
absolutely. Yep.
Always there.
For sure.
For me, I'm all about keeping this community on a decent, level to some degree. And of course, I can't do that. We all know how crazy our fucking community has become over the last couple of years, with all the shit that's been going down, splits here and the splits there, and it's been crazy, man. It's been a shit ride, that's for sure. And I'm sad because I have friends in multiple camps and they can't mingle, and it just bothers me. And I'm like, why can't you guys put these stupid ass differences aside?
Yeah,
like,
and can I say that's one of the things, and I stay, even in our community, the atheist community, I stay away from that. I don't get involved in it because that's one of the things I hated about church. It's like, well, hold on, somebody decides that they want to go to a different church and listen to a different pastor. All of a sudden, you can't associate and talk to them.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
And I won't be. I'll be in the community, but I won't be in your neighborhood. You know what I mean? So it's like if certain people want to do certain things, like that's cool, but I'm not going to be. I'm not going to be there. I'll be in this part of the neighborhood. And if y'all want to come over here and play with the grown folks where we don't do all that, then we can all play together.
Yeah, it's for me, it's sad, right? Because I've built some good friendships, and I've lost some of them because of some of this shit.
Yeah.
So, but on the same, or not on the same, but on the other hand, I think to myself, well, if they were that quick just to kick people aside because of something like this that we could have talked about, we could have discussed, but they were just like, you're out the door and then throw up a wall. Well, then were they really worth keeping around?
Yep. No, great point. Great.
Were they really your friend to begin with? I know that's almost a no true Scotsman fallacy, but in this case, I'm wondering, like, were they really your friend to begin with?
Yeah.
Or just claimed to be, right? So,
yeah, no. You hit the nail on the head. I couldn't say it any better. That was you said that like a rock star.
Actually, that's one of my nicknames. The guys downstairs, except they misspelt it one day with ARIS, and I'm like, what the fuck? This is Rockstaris. So now they call me Rockstaris. Because it changed from Rockstar to Rockstairs, because I used to have to go down the stairs and then text them and say, come and open the door, because I didn't have a fob to get into that floor. So I got named Rockstairs, and then they spelt it wrong and it became Rockstaris. So now that's what they call me.
That's great.
All the fucking nicknames I've had in my life, your head would spin. So
I was about to say, I don't know about you, but I've been called worse.
Yeah, me too. One of the worst ones when I was a kid was Niagara nose, because my nose would never stop running.
Oh, okay.
Like, even to this day, no, I'm just kidding. It doesn't do it like it used to. But it turned out I had a deviated septum, and
okay.
So my nose would run quite a bit. But I had it sort of worked on when I was in my late or early teens, mid-teens, whatever, and it still does it from time to time. If I go outside and it's cold, it just starts running, and I just have to stick a couple pieces of snot rag up there, and we're all good. But
right.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those weird things. If it's too cold or too hot, it's going to start, not running, but you'll get a the drip, postnasal drip shit going on there. So
yeah, it's one of those things where it's like it could be worse, right? It could be a lot worse.
Yeah, exactly. It's like it could be blood pouring out constantly, right? And then I'd be in trouble.
Yeah, I was about to say that we probably wouldn't be talking. You need to be somewhere.
Yeah, I don't feel so good. Kind of lightheaded now. I know. Murder. That'll help.
Does anybody in the chat know where Neil lives? We probably need to go get him.
Yeah, probably. I'm not afraid of letting people know where I live. If they want to come and chat with me, I'll meet them up front. But beware, people, if you're having these inclinations to somehow kick my ass, I'm bringing my fucking nunchucks with me. So, homemade ones, made them myself, man.
That's awesome. I love them.
They're pretty awesome. Yeah, me too. And mine, I put a chain in the center instead of a rope. So, bam! Holy fuck! I'm missing part of my forehead now. It's funny. I used to have the skull ring that I used to wear all the time, and my buddy goes, "That fucking thing is huge." He goes, "You ever hit anyone with that thing?" And I go, "Yeah, probably a couple times." Oh, okay. Well, if I ever see someone that's got a skull indent in their forehead, I'll go, "Oh, you know Neil."
Oh, you know my friend.
Yeah.
He
didn't like
it. He obviously made you kiss the ring.
Yes. One way or another. Anyways. Yeah, exactly. So, dude, tell me about the channel. Let's get into the channel now. Let's get into what was it that prompted you and Mike and Steve to want to start this channel?
Well, I have to give credit where credit's due there. So I met Pasta, which obviously you've got to speak with as well. So I met Pasta Mike on TikTok a year or so ago, and I just said this in our after party last night that we did. And I met him at a perfect time because so I had Tia, my fiance, and then Pasta, has now become really a best friend of mine that I talk to even off of YouTube and everything, that if I need to just talk or vent, like that's my guy, and but he doesn't what he does now, but he didn't know at the time. He has a very he does a lot of satire, and it's all skeptic based, so it's hilarious, but it's also thought provoking, right? And there were days where I would come home and I just needed to laugh, like I just needed to laugh and get all the shit off my head, and out of my brain. And I would go straight to TikTok and just go through my TikTok videos and laugh, right? And he'll even say it. He was like, there was a period where he didn't know, he obviously didn't know what I was going through, but he was making videos directed towards me just to make me laugh, right? And
that's awesome.
Yeah, and there's some we were going through them last night, just kind of going back through the memories of them because they're a riot. But so I met him, just in that kind of capacity, and we got to talking. Then next thing I know, him and I are on Skype having conversation, telephone conversations on Skype. Then we're texting, and then we meet. We meet Atheist Jesus, or the other Mike. We have too many Mikes, so they all have nicknames. But Mike, which is my co-host, and then Jeff, Steve, and then what you guys don't see is there's a whole nother slew of skeptics and atheists that support the roundtable and help us with other stuff behind the scenes. And we all met on TikTok. And as we started talking, it was like, Pasta really spearheaded it, but we started putting our heads together, and it was like we could really do something special, man. And when I say special, something that can keep everybody, no matter what side of the table you come from. That's why, Pasta had the great idea of the round table. No matter what side of the table you come from, we can all have that conversation. Doesn't mean we're going to agree one bit, but we can sit down and have great conversations, informative conversations, challenge belief systems, challenge views, challenge faiths, ask for evidence, epistemology, and do all of that. And really, I think as far as the yin and the yang, we have Atheist Jesus that actually looks like Jesus. He's got the beard and the hair and all that, and he's very intellectual. Very
looks like white Jesus.
White Jesus. My bad. Yeah. He's the very and he probably doesn't like when I brag like this on him, but you know, the very, you know, more the philosophical mind, you know, he's going to walk you through those steps, and now he's become a beast at epistemology and asking those questions, you know, where, you know, then, you know, I'm the radio voice, or at least that's what I'm told, you know, and I'm more of the more of just the hammer, the brass tacks. And what I mean by hammer is I'm not, you know, going to attack and cuss at people and tell them they're stupid and all that. But if a conversation gets too far off base,
why not?
You know, sometimes, but it's
there are times that you need to.
Absolutely. And I'm not afraid. Don't get me wrong. But
I wouldn't think that.
I'm the one that kind of brings it back. Like, okay, all of this, like the word salad and the spaghetti, which is what I like to call it, like all this is really like, it makes us all sound really, really intelligent and really, really smart. But at the end of the day, you're making a God claim. Give us the evidence. The floor is yours, you know, and that's really why I come in, you know, and do that. So we all met to answer your question directly. We all met really via TikTok, and the relationships have just naturally blossomed and exploded into, you know, what we've done. And now we're at about 40 days and we're almost 600 subs, and we're getting tons of support. And it's been a fucking awesome ride, even though it's been a 40-day ride so far. It's been incredible. We've got to meet you and Chris and, you know, tons of other, you know, people that we're working on, you know, to come on the show and us be on there. But it's just been amazing, you know, so far, the support we've got, and just how well the concept of the round table has been received so far by the community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've enjoyed quite a few of your videos, dude. So what you guys do is good, and it's important too. I mean, these kinds of conversations should be had, and I think to showcase those kinds of conversations is also important because it can demonstrate. And I've yet really to see one of your shows where you're chatting with a theist of some flavor derail. I've really yet to see that goes really that squirrely. I mean, I've seen a couple of heated moments, but they weren't ridiculous like the old non-sex show where shit would just fly. They'd turn into monkeys flinging fucking poo everywhere. Yeah. Right. But I've yet to see that. So it's good that this kind of discourse can be had in a format like that. And so I commend you for that, because it's not easy to do when you're talking to people that their heartstrings are literally attached to their belief systems. Mm-hmm. Right. So it's tough to do. Yeah. I don't know how you do it, to be honest.
Well, like with Jesus, you know, being the, you know, host and co-host, you know, it wasn't that long ago that him and I were the ones that weren't afraid to go on the attack, you know, and sometimes be overbearing.
I think we all go through that. We go through that angry atheist stage.
Yeah. Yep. And it's that. And then part of it was personalities, you know, Jesus and I both, you know, we can be a little snarky, you know, our sarcasm and be aggressive. And what we started to do is, you know, look at other people's experiences, what other material we saw out there. And it was like, okay, here, this really needs to be the foundation of what we do. And I would say this to anybody: if you want to come be on the show, go watch some episodes and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. You know, we say this very, very frequently when we're not on camera. We do not attack the human. We don't attack the human. That's a human with emotions and their own brain, and we don't know where they're at. We don't know what they're going through. It's not our job to attack the human. When it comes to belief, when it comes to the faith, we will put it through the gauntlet, and we will tear it apart. You know, and that we have every right to do. And if you don't want your belief questioned, and you don't want people to send it through the gauntlet and have it dissected, then I question if you actually really believe what you say you believe in.
What you say, yeah, right.
Yeah. So
exactly.
Anybody that comes on, you know, as far as this attacking a human, you know, and belittling them, and I mean, don't worry, you're going to hear us cuss, but we're not going to cuss at you. It's not going to be like, you fucking idiot. You know, it's not.
I think we all did it from time to time. we all went through a little bit of that, at least. But once you realize that beliefs are ideas, and ideas don't necessarily deserve respect, you can move to that point and attack ideas rather than the people that hold them.
Right.
Because people, until they give you a reason otherwise, you should always be respectful of people. Oh, shit. Thanks, Pastor Mike.
The Pastor Mike.
I got to get in touch with Google so they'll actually start giving me my money. So it's a long story. I had another channel, the AdSense account, and I canceled it and tried to start up here. Oh, you've got another one. I go, what? No, I canceled it. So a friend of mine gave me a number where I'll actually be able to reach somebody at Google to talk about it. So I got to give them a call and do that. I'm just lazy and haven't done it.
At least you're honest.
I've got like $400 sitting there waiting to come my way. But yeah. Yeah. So it's hard. It's hard not to want to rip into somebody that has a ridiculous belief. You know what I mean? Absolutely. It's hard. It's like, you don't, please tell me you don't really believe that this happened or that happened. Like, bushes don't burn, but not burn. They either do or they don't fucking burn. Like, come on, you tell me. And they don't talk to you, that's for sure. And donkeys don't talk, and snakes don't talk.
Correct.
And where the hell did all the kangaroos on the ark go? Because we didn't see no skeletons from there to the Australia where they ended up. You know, like, what the fuck? And how could all the waters of the world mix? Because then every fucking fish in everywhere would be dead, except for like jellyfish and the odd shark that might make it. Because everything would turn into some sort of semi-brackish water, and saltwater fish can't live in that. And freshwater fish can't live in that either. Only brackish fish can live in that. So what are you talking about, man?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. I mean, all that. Yeah. So, and that really bothers them when you bring that shit up too, because they don't have answers for it.
Yeah. And that's why I love, that. And again, I'm always going to give credit where credit's due. Pasta has always been a huge fan of, epistemology, especially street epistemology. And, shout out to Anthony, because he's the dog. But taking that approach where it's, let's build a relationship with, whether it's an atheist, a theist, agnostic, whatever it is, let's build this relationship. That way we can say we have that. We have a friendship. Then let's talk about what you believe and why you believe it. Because I don't know about you, but like, there's certain people, like, I'm just not going to talk about all of that with, unless I have a relationship with them. It's like, I don't even know you. You don't need to open up, to you. Now on a YouTube channel, I'm more free and doing, that's my job, so to speak. But, in everyday life, there's certain things I'm not going to share with certain people because I don't know them and I don't have that relationship. But if I build a relationship and build trust and rapport with you, now I don't mind talking to you about why I do or don't believe in something. So we try to take that different approach and then attack it from, really using epistemology versus just hammering them, because that doesn't get us anywhere. That just gets us hanging up on people. So.
Yeah, for sure. There's an interesting point that was brought up here by Cafe, who, referring to atheists, have they considered challenging their own atheism? Atheism isn't something you challenge. Atheism really is just a position where you just don't believe in deities. Right? And I used to, and Oz used to, but once we realized that, and for me, it was science that did it, because the laws of physics literally do not allow for a soul or afterlife, and do not allow for a God. They just don't. Right? That's why these theists, a lot of them have to, well, he exists outside of space-time. He doesn't exist in our, well, then who gives a shit? Because he needs coordinates to exist in our reality. So who cares? I've become an apatheist in that respect. I don't care. If he's not going to be here and intermingle with us as a species that he allegedly created, then who gives a shit? Right? Because if he's not going to exist here, which he needs your coordinates to do so, and you require both space and time for coordinates, then why bother? There's no point to it. So unfortunately, DMT. I could have brought that up before too. What's his name? Sean Carroll's book, what the hell's the name of it? Anyway, he goes on about that stuff, how the laws of physics just do not allow for these types of things.
It's
DMT is a drug. So when you put a drug into your mind, that's nothing to trust. Period.
Yeah.
It's a drug, and it's fucking with your neurons. That's nothing at all to trust at all. I don't put any credit into DMT experimentation at all, except for mental health. They have found some uses for it for mental health, as long with LSD and ayahuasca and all that shit. But
And real quick, if I can just say on,
sure.
On you know have and I won't speak for the rest of the folks at the round table because they're not here to speak for themselves. But for me, right. I can say that I've put my belief in God that I had at one time, and even my skepticism, my disbelief, through a lot of questioning and probing, and I've even been skeptical about my skepticism. You know, and
you have to be. You know, you have to be pragmatic.
Yeah, you know, and this is what I can tell you.
Very Bayesian.
I don't believe or have faith that I disbelieve. I know that I disbelieve. So when I got through the gauntlet, I don't need faith. I absolutely know that I disbelieve.
No, Cafe. No, this is nonsense. It is not higher bandwidth. That's ridiculous. That's not how shit works, man. Bandwidth refers to stuff like computers, not your brain. Okay, bioelectricity is very much different than the electricity that runs through your computer. It's not how it works. Okay, I mean, I'm in chemistry. This is what I do for a living. This is the sort of thing that I can actually put an expertise in. Okay, and you're not convinced an afterlife is incompatible with the laws of physics? Unfortunately, they are, because what is a soul? What is the afterlife? What's containing your soul? It's nothing but particles. Everything boils down to particles, guys. You are made up of particles, electrons, protons, muons, gluons. You're made up of these kinds of things. When there's no longer a vessel to contain these particles, they dissipate. So there's no afterlife. When you die, that's it. You're dead. Do you remember what it was like before you were born? That's exactly the way it's going to be when you're gone. Consider what you consider an afterlife? That's silly. Silly. I'm going by the afterlife that most religions proclaim, that you still exist in some place elsewhere, and there's some form of a deity that you have to suck his dick for the rest of eternity. Either that or burn in hell. So
I'd prefer to burn hell.
This is another bullshit thing I don't subscribe to, simulation theory. Nobody even thought about it until we actually were able to and capable of doing simulations. So consciousness is still not understood. Oh, for sure. That's for sure. But we do know what part of the brain it comes from. And we do know that it shuts off when you pass out, when you pass away. We do know those things. All right. So your consciousness is an emergent property of existence. It's the chemicals got together in the right way and created a consciousness within you. That's how that works. Is consciousness possible without a brain? No, it is not. Sorry to tell you. And if you're going to bring in the AI aspect of it, that's a different thing, because you've created something that acts like a brain, so consciousness could be possible. Yes, we do know where consciousness is being generated from, Cafe. We do now, okay? Like, go look this stuff up, man. It's there to see. And if you're concerned about whether or not you're reading a legitimate piece of a scientific journal, I will recommend the Clarivate website. They will tell you. Yes, there is. No, you don't have to be sorry, because you're wrong. And you know the best thing about being proven wrong? You're no longer wrong. So I can give you studies on that. They do know the part of the brain or the three places in your brain that combine to generate where consciousness comes from. That's fine, guys.
I'm going to get my popcorn so I can just watch.
Yeah, no kidding, right? By the way, well, the time's almost up anyways. We can carry this kind of thing on in the after party if you're up for it, man.
Okay.
All right. What I'm going to do, though, I'm going to let you guys know that some really, really exciting news for me. Then you dare you to find you one single study that definitely demonstrates that consciousness is generated by the brain? No problem. I'll give you about 15. Okay? Yes, I will find it. Why? Because I've read the fucking journals at work where I work. Because my partner in crime in the lab is also very interested in this kind of thing. So I know that these studies, and they know at least the 3 locations where there are possibilities of consciousness being generated. Okay? So there is evidence. Your denial of the evidence is proof of its existence. What? That doesn't make any sense either. Popcorn sounds good. Yeah, no kidding. But dude, this is my bag, man. I know that this shit is okay. Fine, 15. Oh, dude, if I do at least one or two that are conclusive and have been tested by others, then that should be good enough. Yes, I will. It's not I will. I have. Okay? I have already. So there you go. And you go to the Clarivate website. I'll give you the link if you like. Hang on here.
Whoa.
Yeah, I didn't do that right.
I was about to dance and entertain while you were gone.
Oh, hang on, here you go. And this is one website that is the Master Journalist, and it will give you anything and everything. Yeah, no, Cafe, I'm sorry, but they do exist. I'm sorry to tell you. And you can deny it all you want. You can go to this website right now and look for the journals yourself. There you go. You go to that website, Master Journalist, and you can look up any journals you want on this on the subject.
I don't believe that Cafe exists. I need evidence.
Well, somebody's typing.
Here we go into the Matrix.
Anyways, yeah. Samuel Doolittle lost consciousness for a second. No, I hit the wrong damn button.
Oh, what's up, Samuel Doolittle? He won our
okay.
last night. What's up, man?
You can say this until you're blue in the face. It's not going to change the fact that I've already found them. You know, all the studies ever made in the world. Look, guys, this isn't a debate, okay? The studies are there. The findings are there. If you want to deny it, then you're suffering from cognitive dissonance. And if you think you know better, then you're also coupling the Dunning-Kruger effect right on top of it. Okay. Oh, by the way, I meant to say before we cut out this and jump to an after party, which, by the way, I'll give you a fresh link for.
You got big news.
I got big news. Yes, indeed. I was asked a couple of days ago by Villa Bianca to be a co-host on Talk Heathen. So I'm going to be on Talk Heathen this Sunday. Cafe, why don't you go look for it yourself, man? I'm not your research coach. Go and do it yourself.
Hey,
go to the Clarivate website and find that shit yourself. It's there.
Hey, Neil, before you continue to destroy this guy in the comments, congratulations, brother. And that's fucking awesome.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I've been wanting to do it for a long time, and it's awesome that I get to do it finally. I've been bugging them for a long time. You guys gotta let me on one day. You gotta let me on. I did Truth Wanted with Objectively Dan, and unfortunately my computer crapped out, so I missed like 20 minutes. It was my old computer, it wasn't as good as this one. So yeah, it was kind of shitty. Yeah, sure, you looked. Nobody can look for this that fast. I don't believe you. Right? I don't believe you. I'm sorry, but it doesn't take 3.5 seconds to look this up. It takes a little bit. You got to do some digging.
Hey, Neil.
Anyway,
when we get offline, I'd like to, or email or message, whatever he does, get in contact with Dan. I'd love to have go through his story with him, like in a roundtable format.
Yeah, sure. I can hook you up with Dan. The man that calls me the bear. He goes, "Oh, look at this big ass bear coming through the door." What? I'm like, dude, you're bigger than me. He's just got like this much on me, height wise. Yeah, he's a big guy. I'm with my boots on. I'm 6'5".
Okay.
I'm a quick typer. Sure you are. Anyway, guys, we're going to jump to an after party. If you're interested in jumping in there with us, let me know through Twitter or Facebook. and I'll send you a link, and you can join both Oz and myself. Probably go for about an hour or so, a little bit more, because I've got other folks that I've got to go and do some stuff with later. So I do have a life outside of YouTube. Shocking. But yeah, so yeah, let me know and I'll give you the link. I'm pretty sure IQ will be in there for sure.
DMT, y'all.
Yeah, DMT. Don't give him any fucking leeway with that shit, man. Yeah, anyway.
Oh, man.
Change the water pH with a simple electro. Yeah. I've done those kinds of experiments. You put electricity in water and it'll make it, what is it, more acidic, I think? Yeah. Anyways, yes, electricity going through water can make water more and change the pH level. That's an easy one.
I was about to say,
that's an easy one. No, but that shit. Yes, if he did see DMT. He's like, hell yeah. That's funny. Anyway, yeah, I itched myself and kind of pulled something off, I guess. I don't know what the fuck I did. But anyways, yeah, that's the link to the after party. I will get you the information you're looking for, Cafe. All right. So don't worry. Anyways, that's wrong. He who calls unsubstantiated findings truth is just a liar, basically. Anyway, all right, guys. I know the whole COVID thing going on right now, it's pretty tough, and we're all fighting our little battles and dealing with having to stay home or go to work and then go home and, try to do our social distancing, keep our loved ones safe and stuff like that. It's not hard, or it is hard to do, or it can be anyways. You know what I'm trying to say. So remember to always be well and be safe and be kind. Okay. And like I always say at the end of these shows, like the late, great Christopher Hitchens once said, it's called faith because it's not knowledge. Mushrooms are aliens. I've heard this before.
Prove me wrong.